Delivering the future. Little robots taking parcels and groceries to the front door, due to start in Greenwich, London next year. Up until now, the unpredictable complexity of the real world, with its infinite variety of hazards and obstacles, meant that the last mile of a delivery needed a human. Not, it seems, anymore.
Thanks very much.
It's us waiting around at home in a 5-hour delivery window. We have to take a day off work. It's so time-consuming and such a waste. Robotics and technology in the current day right now can solve those problems. So that's what we're doing.
There's no doubt that this coming wave of automation, of artificial intelligence and robots like this one is going to deliver huge advantages to society. It's going to transform our lives, make them more convenient. But the question is it also going to bring us some problems that society is going to struggle to cope with, not least more inequality?
This is what could happen. With delivery bots, driverless vans, warehouse robots and online retailing, it's possible for a tiny number of people to sew up an entire market that once employed hundreds of thousands or even millions. The few can get fabulously rich. As for the rest, in previous eras of job destruction, when mechanisation chased farm workers off the land, it also created new and better paid jobs in the towns and cities. And when muscle work disappeared, we moved into brain work. But soon, the machines will not only be stronger than us, but smarter too. Some new jobs will be created. These are robot handlers ready to take control if one of the delivery robots gets into trouble. The real worry is about how many of these new jobs there are going to be. One study estimates that 35% of UK jobs will be automated away in 10 to 20 years' time, and that jobs that pay under £30,000 a year are 5 times more at risk from automation than jobs that pay above £100,000. Research by McKinsey's has warned that this transformation is happening 10 times faster and at 300 times the scale of the Industrial Revolution, or, in other words, with 3,000 times the impact of the changes that transformed the Victorian world. These sculptures are perhaps a good metaphor for how most politicians have reacted to the challenge until now.
One idea they're going to be debating here in the European Parliament next month is this: if job-destroying robots are replacing tax-paying humans, well, perhaps we need to tax the robots.
My proposal is that we monitor exactly what is happening on the job market, on the employment sector. And if robots are taking over more jobs and new jobs are created, we will be, or most of member states and of the governments will be in a difficult position to collect enough money to finance all the services that we need. So if this is the case, I think we should think on taxing robots, because someone has to pay for our normal life, for the infrastructures, for the services that the government should provide to the people.
But how simple would this be? Some robots are easy to identify. A company replacing workers with a robot like Baxter here would be relatively straightforward to tax. But this wave of innovation is not all about the physical world.
Much of this revolution, though, is taking place out of sight, inside reassuringly familiar-looking computer cases and server racks. But these new machines are learning and thinking. And learning and thinking is currently how much of humanity earns its living.
Welcome to SMAC. It stands for Smart Accountancy. This Berlin-based startup has harnessed artificial intelligence in an attempt to revolutionise the boring old accountancy profession. The process looks familiar enough. Clients of the service will scan their invoices and receipts into a computer. But inside, the software is doing something extraordinary. Instead of human accountants looking at the documents, the computer is figuring out the figures, adding them to the correct accounts.
Text on paper is pretty easy, but then you have to interpret the text, and the system has to know what is that number here, and what is that number here, and where is the tax information on the receipt. And that's interpreting the information, and that's really in many, many areas a revolution that we are seeing. For example, self-driving cars. Is that a person crossing the street, or is it just water on the street mirroring something? Can I go on driving, or do I have to stop? Right? That's understanding, interpretation work. And that's also the work that has to be done here for the accounting purposes. The system really needs to do the interpretation.
At SMAC, they say this will lead to less mundane, more interesting work for human accountants. But again, the question is how many of these human jobs will survive?
We are progressing very, very quickly in terms of innovation, but we have no idea where we are heading and where we want to reach. And I fear that at present, both governments and the private sector are quite happy to rely on neoliberalism and market forces and allow them to decide the direction of innovation. And this is extremely dangerous.
How dangerous? Well, don't take it from me.
Want to know where we could be heading as a species? Have a look at our friend Oliver here. Just a century ago, millions of horses in the UK could earn their keep in agriculture, in the mines, in industry, in transport.
The fact is that for almost every job that horses once monopolised, today they're not worth their feed and stabling. They couldn't give their labour away at any price. We can only hope that the robots are a little more sympathetic to us than we were to the horses.